Hi, I am Timelines, and this is the third episode of Kaarenuoma. In this series, I try to take a look at realistic city evolution, how a tiny settlement with medieval farming will develop into a urban city. I will try to link Finnish history to the series to give you some idea how pre-industrial society has evolved through recent Nordic history. First, I need to give a disclaimer. In this overflight comparison, you will see a radical change in the amount of houses, especially houses per farm. The reason for that is not only the town growing and some new reforms taking place, but also the fact that these single-family homes do have only from 1 to 6 people living in them. In real life, in early 20th century Finland, 6 people in a household would have been a small family. So in some cases I simply added houses, in some cases I replaced shed props with houses to make the population more realistic. In this episode I will move on from the late 19th century to around the time of us gaining our independence. So this means roughly 50 to 30 years move. Those days were politically turbulent as the Russian Empire was shaking. As this is, after all, a Cities Skylines channel, I will not go deeper into it. But the important thing is that during the whole time, Finland's economy and population still managed to rise. Industrial plants like the sawmill in Kaarenuoma would become important economical motors, especially regionally. Lots of towns and cities would emerge nearby these facilities. Finland's population rose from roughly 2 million to about 3 million in the previous 40 years, and the farming area would almost triple during the same time period. Like I announced last time, Kaarenuoma will get its own independence during this episode, so from now on Kaarenuoma will be an independent municipality. Here is its coat of arms. Ta-da! Getting independence for a new municipality was somewhat common during those days. The number of municipalities would start to drop a few decades later. It also meant that new municipalities like Kaarenuoma now had to take care of itself. That usually resulted in a lot more pure public services than earlier. More on those later on. One major difference you've probably picked up at this point is the state of the forests. Like I said, the farming area is now a lot bigger, and that was taken from the forests. Building houses and warming them for, on average, 1.5 times more people, or almost 4 times more in Kaarenuoma's case, was all away from the forests. And as the area's economy was rising thanks to the successful forestry industry, it meant that taking down forests became very commonplace. That was highly common here. Speaking of the sawmill and the industry around, those kinds of facilities would often result in some sort of chaotic worker village close to the industry. Of course, a lot of people would choose to live in the original villages as well. One of the more common ways to get the wood to the mill was through water by timber floating. That obviously needed some kind of harbor. Unfortunately, the only available cargo harbor in the vanilla game is way too modern looking, but such a thing to exist in Finnish countryside some 100 years ago was a thing. Also, I must disclaim that places like Kaarenuoma would not have their own coal power plants, but for game technical reasons I had to put some power source somewhere. The only good place for a hydroelectric power plant was already taken, and apparently Kaarenuoma has no wind. This new era would bring new services as well. The municipality itself is going to take care of its citizens and security as well. The early 20th century saw a bit more modern police forces spreading to the countryside as well. Cooperatives would become very commonplace, as that was the ideal way to get markets and other commercial services to the poor countryside, where no single person would have enough money alone to set up a store. The town centrum of Kaarenuoma would see an influx of commercial services, where one thing that aids it is Kaarenuoma's size. 1,800 residents is a lot for its time. These services would also spread across the municipality. In Kaarenuoma's case, it means new schools and post services and firehouses to the biggest villages as well. Most common types of cooperative services would be markets as well as flour mills and dairies. The dairies are here built as milking parlors for game technical reasons. Otherwise, the biggest change in the countryside would be the growth of farming areas. The population was growing fast, but the farming technology did not take equal steps. Once Finland got independence, one of the first laws they made was torpparilaki. Torppari was a crofter, and this law enabled them to buy their houses for themselves, as well as establish new ones. All of this enabled the farming area to triple in just 4 decades. The farming area in Kaarenuoma would not quite triple as some of the wealth and economic growth happens thanks to the industry. Farming growing here as well is definitely visible though. In a case like this, where a industry becomes a major source of wealth for the region, a lot of people would start to move in. So all of the growth is not from the inside. That usually meant the village or town center could grow and gain a lot of smaller houses. The old town-like village would get a few houses more, and incoming residents would set up their homes closer to the central services, which usually are quite close to the church. I must admit though that Kaarenuoma's current centrum is quite compact. Lots of houses would also be set near some farms, as some of the workers for the industry would have members in the family working for the farmer or becoming a crofter. Such has been the growth for the Kaarenuoma, and such is the need for commercial services that they are going to ask for the borough rights. Back then, municipality, borough, and city would have different rights, especially regarding commerce. Next step for Kaarenuoma would be to gain the borough rights. For that reason, municipality also declares a design competition to get a new coat of arms. So if you want to design a new coat of arms for Kaarenuoma to win this competition, or to simply replace the AI one, feel free to contact me via email. The next episode is coming on 10th of August, and I wish your design is here by the 5th. The winning prize is getting your name to the main street of the new town center. Regardless, thanks for watching, and remember to subscribe and stuff.